I'm glad we got to see sort of shifting into the game now. I'm glad we got to see last night, or at least the country got to see more than ever in this postseason. What certainly I've been seeing, I think a lot of folks have been seeing all playoffs long, is that Miami's really deep. Okay, this notion that it's Jimmy just dragged them to this point, like LeBron dragged those Cavs team. No. Jimmy was solid last night. He was more, I think, impactful on the defensive end, but made some big shots the fourth quarter. First half, did a good job of getting his teammates involved. I think Eric Spoelstra starting Kevin Love was big in that regard. But you've got guys like Gabe Vincent, who arguably could have, no, I was thinking about Caleb Martin, could have been the Eastern Conference Finals MVP. But you got Gabe Vincent, who's going to be a free agent this summer and is going to get a pretty nice little contract. I think it's fair to say. You got a Bam Adebayo, who, as a guy who picked the Heat going into the series, for me, was my biggest concern. You watch Bam for the first two games, certainly last night, you're like, dang, they can't survive when he's not on the floor. Last night, he gave you 21 and 9 and good defense on Jokic, efficient shooting from the field. And by the way, was kind of like the point center himself to a lesser degree than obviously Jokic was last night. But a big key in this game, there's a couple keys in this game that I talked about following game one headed into this game. The first thing was, for Miami's side, in terms of things they absolutely could control on the court. Game one, they could not buy a three-pointer. And that's despite the fact that they got open looks. I mean, wide open looks. Again, I read the stats off on Friday's show that they shot like 30% or something crazy on what ESPN stats considered wide open threes. Like if the defender was 6 or more feet away from the shooter. Wide open threes, they shot 30% in game one. I didn't get the stat for wide open threes in this game. Here's what I do know. Miami went 17 for 35, 48, 49%. It's pretty good. And a lot of that, and I tweeted this throughout the game, was the fact that Denver, and they never really adjusted to it. This is why, these coaching matchups, very important. Michael Malone, who I'll get to later in the show, very good coach. He's not Eric Spoelstra. Certainly was not even close in this game. What did Denver struggle with defensively all night long? They could not defend the pick and roll in terms of they get caught up and there'd be a wide open shooter. Here's 4 instances during the game. So here's first quarter. You got a screen here. Max Strus is wide open, and he's going to knock down this corner three. Strus, by the way, had a really good first quarter off that pass from Kyle Lowry. Here's a second one. Jimmy again. And Max Strus, they get caught up at the pick and roll, doubling Jimmy. Max Strus, open three, cashes it in. Here's third quarter. Little double screen here. Kevin Love, good look. They lose him. Three-pointer there. And then fourth quarter, this is the one that gave Miami the lead. Both guys follow Duncan Robinson. And I think it was Gabe Vincent, got a wide open three from the left corner. That's 12 points right there, if you're Denver, that are just based off the fact that either you didn't communicate, you weren't entirely sure what the game plan was. Are we going to switch everything? What are we doubling? They didn't know what they were doing in those situations all night long, and Miami took advantage of it. That's just 12 points right there in a game that Miami won by 3. Not to mention, you obviously had Kentavious Caldwell-Pope fouling Duncan Robinson on a 3 and fouling Kyle Lowry on a 3 in the fourth quarter, which you had 6 points there. You think that doesn't make a difference? And the second thing was, and this has kind of been the story in the national media, it's actually even been something that Eric Spoelstra himself has, I think, very strategically so, pushed back on. This make Jokic a scorer thing. I don't have the soundbite by Eric Spoelstra, but he was asked after the game by Ramona Shelburne, one of the most respected members of the media at ESPN. And she asked him basically, was that the objective? Was that to make Jokic a scorer so other guys don't get involved, blah, blah, blah. And Eric Spoelstra kind of cut her off and said, that's just only to the untrained eye that you could see that. And he really pushed back, got very defensive about it. It's like, Spo doesn't do that. If that was Greg Popovich, yeah, I could have seen that. I mean, Popovich is notorious for being kind of a jerk to reporters. That's not Spoelstra. And especially somebody, again, as respected as Ramona Shelburne is. That, to me, was very, very, very calculated. He seemed to, at least the way I see it, overreact just a little bit to a question that I think that everybody who watched the game saw, certainly Eric Spoelstra saw because it was his freaking game plan, that was what Miami wanted to do against Denver. I talked about on Friday after game one that it's pick your poison guarding Jokic, in that if you play straight up, if you play man-to-man, then he's just going to kill you in the high pick and roll with Jamal Murray. And again, it's impossible to stop. It has been all season for the Denver Nuggets. It was, by the way, for the most part in 2020 during the bubble. If you play a zone, which Miami is more comfortable in doing, it's what really helped them beat Boston in the last round. It's, okay, if we zone, Jokic can either, shoot that flip shot in the high post. If someone comes down to double, we're going to kick it out to a shooter like a KCP, like a Michael Porter Jr., who, by the way, is having an awful series shooting from three thus far, playing right into Miami's hands. And if the shooters are struggling, which they did last night, Jokic would be like, okay, I'm going to take matters in my own hands. I'm going to go attack myself. These little flip shots to the paint or backing guys down. He flat out, he abused. I felt bad for the man. He abused Cody Zeller out there. It was like every time. I should have gotten the soundbite for the show by Shaq. Barbecue chicken alert. That was what Jokic was looking at. It's like he's looking at Cody Zeller. He's like, barbecue chicken. He's just going right at him. And he finished with 41 points, but only 4 assists. And I have said, check the tape, I have said on this show, it was either after the second round against Phoenix or it was when I was predicting the Western Conference Finals when they were playing the Lakers. I said, if the best chance to beat Denver in terms of attacking them on the offensive end when Jokic is on the floor, he is way less dangerous. The Nuggets, let's put it this way, the Nuggets are way less dangerous when he drops 40 or 50 than if he drops 30 with double-digit assists. Because it gets the other guys involved. It makes Jokic more difficult to defend because now the defenders are having to think about, oh man, if Jamal Murray gets a good look, if MPJ gets an open look, KCP gets an open look, Bruce Brown, oh, and now he's still got to defend Jokic down low. It's too much to worry about, and that's large reason Denver blew through Minnesota, took care of Phoenix, swept the Lakers. It's because none of those three teams could really find that answer. And Miami said, you know what, screw it. If Jokic by himself beats us, then he beats us. And that's really been the strategy against Denver all season long. If you look at the numbers, folks, the Denver Nuggets this season are, let me make sure I'm getting this number right, 3 of the Nuggets' 4 playoff losses in this postseason are when Jokic scores 40 points. 40 or more points. They're 0-3. Because nobody else gets involved. That's part of what makes Jokic so great. We don't think about Jokic as a scorer the way we do a Kevin Durant, the way we do a Steph Curry, the way we do a Giannis. Can he score? Duh. But that's not when he's at his most dangerous. Kind of a LeBron James syndrome in that respect. And that's what Miami did. So when I saw Eric Spoelstra say what he said after the game and being kind of borderline, he was, in my view, very disrespectful to Ramona Shelburne. That to me was very calculated. That I don't want this narrative out that, oh yeah, that's, we not that we let Jokic score, obviously, but we are going to make him score in order to beat us. Very smart move by Eric Spoelstra in that game plan. Thanks so much for watching the show on YouTube. Be sure to click that big red subscribe button and go check out the other clips and full shows of Carving It Up Live. Have a blessed day.